Well, all this week, we're reporting on the future of jobs in America. One of the issues we're investigating, should the government decide who joins a union? Case in point, the dispute between the National Labor Relations Board and Boeing. The Fed's saying Boeing illegally retaliated against its union workers by expanding to South Carolina. That's a right-to-work state. Joining me now, both of South Carolina Senators Jim DeMint and Lindsey Graham. Welcome to you both. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jim DeMint, I'm going to start with you. Let me read you a statement from the NLRB Acting General Counsel on this case. I want you to respond to it. They say Boeing violated two sections of the NLRB by making coercive statements and threats to employees, and by deciding to place the second line at a non-union facility in retaliation for past strike activity. Is this retaliation on Boeing's part?
Well, it's amazing at a time when we're looking for jobs all over the country that the board would carelessly jeopardize the jobs of thousands of people in South Carolina, and I think in Washington State as well. I think the way this is represented by the unions is totally misrepresents what happened. Boeing attempted to negotiate with the unions as they were looking for a site for a new production facility, and I think one of the things they made the unions aware of is the cost of strikes are very expensive and obviously has to figure into their cost of doing business. It was not a threat, it was not retaliation. I think Boeing just picked the best place to build this new plant, and South Carolina, like a lot of other right-to-work states, offers a good business environment, and that's why a lot of jobs are moving to these 22 states.
Well, Senator Graham, to you, the two of you together wrote an op-ed about this issue. Interesting numbers in that op-ed, particularly about the growth of businesses in right-to-work states. Tell me about that.
Well, I just think people are looking for the best way to get return on investment. And this is not just about right-to-work states. Will any business in the future enter into a union contract if you can never move from that location? This is pretty short-sighted on the union's part. The complaint is frivolous. No one in Washington's lost their job. No benefits were reduced. They went all over the country to look for the best way to build a second line. They talked to Washington. They went all over the country, and we really worked hard in South Carolina to get the business of Boeing, and no one's going to take that away from us. And a right-to-work state has a lot to offer, and that's why you see growth. We have a pro-business climate. We have good workers, and that did factor in Boeing's decision.
Well, South Carolina worked hard to get the business. Senator DeMint, what's at stake here for South Carolina?
Well, it's not just about South Carolina or Boeing. It's about all the workers in this country. The Labor Relations Board is supposed to protect the rights of union members as well as non-union members. The hearings they're having now about Boeing in South Carolina, they don't even allow non-union workers to make their case. So I've encouraged people to go to the board's website and look at their mission. They're supposed to protect the rights of non-union workers. This is important to South Carolina, but it's important to our country because how many other businesses around the world, like BMW and Mission, who are located in South Carolina, would come to this country if they're subject to this unelected, unaccountable bureaucrat, Solomon, at the board? I mean, he hasn't been confirmed by the Senate, and he's jeopardizing thousands of jobs at a time we really need jobs in America. So they're hurting our whole country, not just South Carolina.
Well, Senator Graham, what do you add? Go right ahead.
Well, if you want 10% unemployment, 11% unemployment, support this complaint. Here's what's happened. Boeing unanimously voted to come to South Carolina. Bill Daley, the chief of staff of the President Obama, was on Boeing's board at the time they decided to come to South Carolina. I don't believe he retaliated against a union. The CEO of Boeing was chosen by President Obama to lead his export council to double jobs on the export side, so I don't think he would have picked Boeing's CEO if he thought they were an unlawful company. But here's the real problem. Boeing has invested $750 million building a new facility in South Carolina. This complaint is trying to shut down the South Carolina facility, move it back to Washington. If you want companies in the future to leave the country, let this be the law of the land. If it becomes the law in America that you can build a facility, $750 million, and have it shut down by unelected bureaucracies, you won't do business in America. You'll go overseas.
Well, and to that point, what are the 1,000 workers who want those jobs in South Carolina? What are those folks telling you?
They're telling me this is crazy. Protect us, fight for us. Jim and I are trying our best.
That's what we're doing. It's not just 1,000 workers. A company like Boeing attracts dozens and dozens, eventually hundreds of other companies around it. It'll probably be more than 10,000 indirect jobs before this is all over. And it's good for the whole American economy. It's good for Boeing. It'll create more jobs in Washington State because they'll be more profitable.
You know, I want to read a statement from the Boeing CEO, what he had to say about all this. He said the overriding factor in expanding to South Carolina was that we can't afford to have a work stoppage every 3 years. We can't afford to continue the rate of escalation of wages as we have seen in the past. Now, that was the statement that was taken in part by the labor folks. But the CEO mentioned two things here, wages and work stoppages. Jim DeMint, what do you say about that?
Well, you'll find the wages of the workers in South Carolina are going to be very comparable to any in our state and in manufacturing. The workers in right-to-work states get treated, I think, in many cases better than union workers who are subject to bosses who are taking their pension plans and investing in politics and getting people elected. We need to clean that up. South Carolina is one of the states where workers have a right to join the union or not join the union, and I think that suits workers just fine.
Well, from a North Carolina girl, keep on keeping on. I think the South's on fire in terms of attracting businesses. We just had Governor Perry on tonight, and he described what he's doing down there. So it's very impressive. Thanks to both of you for being on the show tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
All right, we'll be right back.